Hi, welcome to Hometown Heroes. I'm your host, Andy Kitzrow. Today in the studio, we are having a reunion show with Ron Basumallik. A few years ago, he was on our show. We talked with him back then about some scouting and some of his other community service endeavors. So, Ron, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Andy.
So, Ron, what have you been up to the past few years since we last talked?
Yeah, geez, it's been about 4 years, I think, since I was last on the show. Back then, I was a freshman at the University of Maryland. So I was going through a transition phase of my life. I just left Maryland, or Salisbury, where I was born and raised, and moved across the bridge to the university. And yeah, that was a big change. But since that time, I've gone through the University of Maryland. I graduated with a degree in computer science, and I've moved to New York City. So we're here again 4 years later, and I'm again in another transition period of my life. It's good to be back.
So there's a lot of similarities between New York City and Salisbury, right?
Yeah.
No, just kidding. So that is a pretty big jump. You know, you went from Salisbury over to University of Maryland, where it has a lot of kids on campus, and now we're going up to New York. Change of pace, definitely for you?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was, like I just said, I was born and raised in Salisbury, so my whole life has been growing up until I was 18, was here. And then moving across the bridge was a good experience. But there was a lot of similarities between Salisbury and College Park, at least, with a lot of my friends from Bennett High School had gone to Maryland, and I knew a lot of people there, and it was very similar. It was very close by, with a lot of changes also. So it was good to see that blend there. And then after I graduated the University of Maryland, I thought, I've lived my whole life in Maryland. I love the state dearly. I really do love Maryland, but I need to go see some other parts of the country and some other parts of the world. So I thought I'd try to take a trip up to New York City for a couple years and see how that plays out. And yeah, absolutely, it's been a completely different change of pace. Everything moves at a different speed. There's so much going on all the time. Sometimes the time just flies by. It's hard to catch yourself. Probably the biggest change of pace for me was what I wanted to try. Was to drop myself in a place where I didn't know anyone or know anything, and see how it'd fare if put in a challenge like that. So, when I went to the University of Maryland, I knew a lot of people there already. Right. So, it was different, but it was still a very comfortable environment, and I wanted to push myself out of that comfort zone and see if I would sink or swim. And it's been going pretty well so far, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
It sounds like all the way back when we first talked with you about scouting, and then you went and got an undergraduate degree in computer programming, and now you're in New York City trying to figure your way out. It seems like you're a big problem solver, and you like to kind of figure things out as you go.
Right. Yeah, I've always felt that if I'm feeling too comfortable and everything is going like a little too well and it's too easy, I feel like I'm not pushing myself hard enough, and I should be trying to push myself into new experiences and new challenges, because that's the most interesting part for me. It's easy to sit at a job or in a classroom for however many hours a day, and if it's easy, it's not stressful, and you might be comfortable, but I don't feel like I'm pushing myself hard enough. And yeah, so that's always something that I'm looking to do, is push myself and try new experiences.
I know we were talking about offline a little bit on your experience this past summer going through the application process and trying to land a job, and even specifically trying to get into a pretty competitive market and then a big marketplace like New York City. Tell me about that experience and kind of what you learned about yourself in that whole process, just being like really your first jump into like careers in the business world. Yeah,
definitely. So I guess the story kind of starts out, I did some internships when I was in college doing computer programming. It was a good internship and everything, and eventually they offered me a job, and so this is located across the bridge in Columbia, Maryland, and it was a good job and everything, but like I was just saying before, I didn't feel like the job was pushing me very, very hard, and I wasn't experiencing a lot of new things, and so I really wanted to try to put myself in a position where I would be being pushed nonstop and always learning. So yeah, I decided to go apply to jobs in New York, and trying to get a job when you have no connections or no network is a lot more difficult. So I was pretty much cold applying to 100 places, hoping someone would respond. And Yeah, and it was definitely an experience in itself. So I was trying to put myself in a challenging experience, but to get there, I had to get through this challenging experience because, you know, being in Maryland, I felt very qualified. As like, I graduated with a degree, you know, I'm such a smart kid and everything is going so well for me. And then you just read 20 rejections in a row and it can really take a toll on you. But the most important lesson was just you got to keep plugging away. And really, I never let it get me down. I always just focused on, you know, why was this company, how did I get through an interview with this company for one round and not another round? Like, what can I improve? And it's just a nonstop iterative process of trying to improve myself. So that was a fantastic learning experience because, you know, you're never a finished product and you can always be better and always be learning.
Right.
And that was a really intense 1 to 2 month period of trying to get that done. And, you know, eventually pulled through, got a great job in New York City, and I'm having a great time now. So it all paid off in the end.
Yeah, it sounds like the journey is really the learning experience, not the beginning or the end, but kind of the process that you go through to learn about yourself. It's really great that you're doing really well up in New York and enjoying yourself. You know, it's definitely a place that you can get swallowed up in because of the size of it, but if you can find your kind of your own way and pick through that and find a space where you really enjoy it. Now, long term, you mentioned you want to go up there for a couple years. Is your plan to kind of stay in New York or at least stay in the field and then see what opportunities present themselves?
You know, I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. Yeah, so the next couple years, absolutely. You know, I'm staying where I am and enjoying life there. But past that, you know, it's hard to plan, especially at my age, what's going to happen down the road. There could be opportunities that open up in New York City. There could be opportunities that open up halfway around the world. You know, I don't know. I'm always open to everything, and I like to keep myself flexible and mobile for anything that comes up.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, the future kind of is untold, specifically in the tech world, because it's like everything is moving in that direction, but it's also globalization of all that stuff. You can do a lot of that stuff, but even from your house,
Right.
Rather than having to actually go into a physical office. So it's going to be really interesting to see your kind of generation of people who grew up in it, who are specializing in it, and see what the opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, I really like that you said that because one of the things I really like about the direction, at least of workplaces that I've noticed, is like the globalization and how mobile you can be. Because you know, we mostly just need communication in our laptops to do a lot of jobs these days, and that opens up a lot of opportunity for places like Salisbury, for example, that might not be right where all the offices are headquartered, but that plenty of people could come live and have a great life, while also working from wherever in the world their company could be based. So, yeah, I mean, that's something I'm looking forward to, absolutely, and it's happening now. And you know, Salisbury to me is a perfect place for something like that to be cultivated, especially with technology. You know, in the tech industry, you really only need a couple of guys or gals and some computers, and you can figure out and start a company and do a lot of great things. So, you know, I really hope that we could grow that in areas like Salisbury and Salisbury itself.
It would be really neat to see how that would transition into Salisbury. Working over at the city right now and understanding the development that we were going through in the downtown metro to try to bring in people, and also the cost of living is so affordable here compared to like a New York City of sorts. If you are able to be mobile or remote and not have to be on those in some of those price points that you have to face in those major metropolitan areas, that does bring an opportunity to kind of have, you know, be part of the big world, but be able to live in kind of a smaller community with a lot of your friends who still live here. And
yeah, absolutely. Like I love Salisbury, and it's a great place. The community is so strong, and you know, people ask me about New York, and you know, it's a great bustling city, and there's so much, but you don't have that exact sense of community and closeness with everyone around you that you have in a place like Salisbury. And like you said, there's a lot of factors like cost of living and just space available are so much better in Salisbury than they are in New York. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of new technology that's going to come out over the next 10, 20, 30 years that is going to just make this push happen even faster.
Right. Reflecting back to the first time we talked years ago to now, I know you're a different person, but do you see can you reflect back and kind of see who you were and where you are now, and talk about just the evolution of you as a man and just that whole process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess last time I was on the show, I was really entering university life, and that is a transition of turning from pretty much a child into an adult, and then you go through your metamorphosis, I guess, through college. And not saying you come out as an adult, but you definitely come out with a more refined idea, or I have at least. I'm not sure this is true for everyone. I came out with a much more refined idea of what I wanted out of life and what I wanted in my personal life, and how I wanted to contribute to the world. So, that process came with its ups and downs. There's definitely times where, I thought that I would like to chase maybe a very fulfilling career, or maybe just chase money, or a very prestigious career, or something of that sort. And then there's other times, I think maybe I should scale it back. There's no point in doing all that if you just spend your whole life in one section. You don't get to actually enjoy your life and live and travel and hang out with your friends. That's also very important in life. So it was definitely a big pull, and just a jockeying between what you want. And I feel like I've found a good balance in my life so far.
So Ron, you were mentioning that you, when you're taking on new challenges, going to new places, you enjoy that. But did you have anybody along the way kind of inspired you, or was it kind of played a mentor role to be able to help you make that adjustment or give you some guidance or direction?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing I did by myself. It was all a culmination of a bunch of people helping me throughout my life. One notable is my dad. When he immigrated from India to the United States, he landed in New York City, and he was a waiter in the World Trade Center. And so, he was really throwing himself into a situation where he didn't know anyone. He didn't even have a great job coming here and everything, and he carved himself out a very great and successful, happy life. So, that was a situation that really motivated me to try to do the same. So, he lived in a really rundown old one-bedroom apartment on the Lower East Side, and I've got to see it before, and that was really a motivating factor, that you can start there knowing no one and hardly knowing the language, or not really having that great of a job, and you can really carve yourself out and have a successful life. So that was a huge motivator for me, along with just so many of the people who have helped me from Salisbury growing up. Dr. George Whitehead, for one example, has mentored me since I was a young guy in high school, and helped me really keep a focus on what is important in life, and to always give back and contribute in any way you can. Because if everyone gave back whatever they can, everything would just we'd live in a lot better place. And so yeah, just a lot of people, all my leaders and Boy Scouts just taught me that even an hour a week and a weekend a month can really make a massive difference on setting and being a role model for a bunch of kids, and showing how you should live your adult life. So yeah.
Great, that's awesome.
And that transformation came through a number of ways. Something that I really have focused on in the past year or two is seeing how I can contribute locally to my community around me. Because you'll see a lot of things, and not everything in the world is great, and you might read stuff that you don't like what's happening, or you don't like things that are going on around you, and the easiest way to change that is to just locally get involved. Like, you can make the biggest impact by spending an hour a month, or even a couple times a week. Will have a great ripple effect throughout your community. So the lesson of locality was something that was easy to achieve in Salisbury, because you volunteer, you help out around the community, and it's directly going back to Salisbury. Everyone around you will feel it. Now, in a place like New York City, it's not quite the same, because it's such a large city that you feel like there's not really a neighborhood, there's not a sense of community, there's not your next door neighbor is going to feel the effects of what you're doing. But that's still a lesson that I tried taking with me. So up in New York, I've joined a couple of organizations. For example, one great one is South Bronx United. So this is a group that is a soccer club based in the South Bronx, which is a very heavy immigrant and poverty-heavy area of the Bronx in New York City. And what they do is try to use soccer as a tool to get kids very interested. They join the club and they play games every week, and also this organization, we help them with after-school tutoring, help them with getting into college, help them with immigration services, anything that you would need as a child starting high school to be successful and go out into the real world. So that's something that I tutor there. I tutor math there now once a week, and something like that is something that, although it may not be local to me in the same sense as Salisbury was, it's still making a direct impact in those kids' lives to help them be successful. And I had a lot of opportunities growing up here in Salisbury that not everyone is afforded, and I had a very comfortable, great childhood, and that gave me a lot of opportunity to be where I am, and I feel like everyone should deserve that opportunity as well. I see that a lot of myself and a lot of these kids. They're all really good friends with each other, and sometimes maybe they'll get distracted while we're tutoring math, and they'll start cracking jokes with each other, and it's funny, and like I want to start laughing too, because only 4 or 5 years ago, that was me doing the same thing with my buddies at high school, and it's interesting playing a different role, because now I have to be the one that doesn't laugh, and I have to keep them on track and make sure that they keep going. But I had people doing that for me, and I think it's just a circle that is never going to stop. Kids are going to be kids and have fun and not going to want to study math, and there's going to be adults who are going to push them in that direction. And I think it's a great experience, and I had a lot of people help me along the way, and I'm hoping I can do the same for them.
It is good to be able to relate to them. It is funny. You understand where they're coming from, but that they also kind of see you almost as that big brother, where they feel comfortable enough to be able to act like themselves in front of you. So that's what's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I act like the roles are completely reversed now, but I have mentors up in New York City that are helping me through my professional life, that are helping me navigate what I want to do. So it's a circle, but it's also a straight line in the sense that people are helping me out still to this day, and they always will be. I don't have everything figured out, and people will help me out, and I'm sure people are helping them out as well. So
great. How does that help you kind of balance your life and this kind of balance the environment around you, from the really hustle and bustle of New York City and that fast pace, being able to kind of slow it down a little bit and work with kids one-on-one?
So a lot of people might think that spending their time contributing, volunteering is something that seems like a chore, maybe, that I have to go do this to give back. I feel good giving back. I feel obligated, but maybe I don't really like what I'm doing. But you can always find an organization or some way to give back that you personally as an individual like. So I really love soccer. I've been a fan since I can remember. I've always played in all the leagues around the peninsula. I follow soccer, watch it every weekend. So, when I went to New York, I thought there's got to be people who love soccer as well. And lo and behold, I found South Bronx United, which is a soccer club, which also helps a lot of kids. So, that was something that really drove me towards. It's not a negative thing. I'm very excited to go there every week. I'm very excited to go help out. I like math. I've always been a lot better at math than I have at a lot of other things. So I thought, I'll tutor math because I enjoy doing it. And so all these things have kind of helped me in my balance, in finding a balance in my work, in my personal life, and in my contributions back to the community, because I really enjoy all facets of it, and I'm sure they enjoy my help as well.
That's great. It's interesting that you bring that up. It seems like people who are service-oriented are always community-minded, that they find a way to always give back throughout their life, whether they stay local or they move on, but they understand the importance of helping those less fortunate or those in need when they can and when it's available to them. So that's really great that you're able to navigate a new city, but at the same time still carve out time to give back to people who definitely are less fortunate than you. Is if you've got people who are local, who are going through graduating high school and are unsure about staying or going, it sounded like you think it's important for people to experience other things so that they can then either come back with a different perspective or just explore themselves more by going abroad, whether it's a different state, a different university or something. Tell me a little bit more about that.
We live in a enormous country, and there's so much to experience around the country, and the world, not just the country. And I feel like we live in an age where travel is so efficient and it's only getting better, and you can communicate back home when you need to, and everyone should have a piece of that human experience of going out and putting yourself in situations and meeting people that are completely different than you, because they will always give you a very different perspective than what you have on things. Things that you have grounded in just truth that you've never questioned, a lot of the times come from just hearing that repeated over your life over and over. And until you get out and break that bubble and that shell, you're not going to have a different perspective. And that'll help you grow, has helped me grow as an individual tremendously. There's no one really has a stupid perspective. I feel like everyone just has different reasons that they hold different views. And once you really talk to people and just listen for a little bit all over the country and all over the world, you really understand why, rather than just hearing the end result, which you might not agree with. But the thought process and the reasoning is something that has contributed greatly to me being better in my professional life, in my personal life, and in every way possible. Just getting out and listening and hearing people's different perspectives and then bringing that home and seeing how you can improve your own community is something that everyone can do, and I think everyone should do.
I heard this kind of quote recently from someone that talked about the communication side. They said, people know how to talk, but do they know how to communicate?
Right.
And then it's people know how to communicate, but do they know how to connect?
Right.
So when people are having conversations, are they just talking, not listening? Are they communicating but not connecting? It's that whole process of actually understanding where the other person's coming from. And in the digital world, that can be lost at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that we continue to try to develop relationships and communicate effectively with people so that we can make those connections as we grow.
4 years ago, I definitely would have been a talker. I would have been someone who, I need to get all my ideas and all my thoughts, and everyone wants to hear what I have to say out there. That is something that I feel like I've grown tremendously as an individual. I like to just listen a lot more now and listen to what people have to say, because they all have their different perspectives, and sometimes it takes a little while before you really can dig down to what someone is thinking and their true reasoning behind it. But you shouldn't judge anyone based on that, and should just try to understand why they're coming from where they're coming from. And I think that would help heal a lot of things going around the country right now if we just sat down and listened to each other a little bit more. In your day-to-day life, just try to experience new things and always push yourself personally. That's where I've found the most success and happiness in my life, has been when I've been able to put myself in an uncomfortable position and ultimately come out comfortable and have pushed my bounds. And that applies to many different ways. If I could give any advice to anyone, that would be just never stop learning, never stop pushing yourself and experiencing new things.
So Ron, computer programming, you're up in New York, you have this new position, you finally landed one. What exactly does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Are you able to be mobile? Do you have to be at a desk in the office? And what exactly does that entail for people who know of computer programming and tech but maybe not know the ins and outs?
Yeah, so in the past 10 years, probably everybody has gotten the mobile phone, a laptop. We're more connected than ever. And with that comes a lot of data of all kinds. It's flowing in and out of your devices, out of everything you can think of. But that data in itself isn't really very meaningful. It takes a team of people to extract some sort of meaning out of the data. And so that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, and that's what my company 1010 Data does. Is we'll buy a lot of raw data of all types, and we'll see if we can understand it and try to get some insights and maybe sell that on to other companies to learn more about their internal processes, how to make things more efficient, and how to better serve their customers. So my day-to-day job is a computer, official title is software data engineer. So I'll take in the data, and I'll work with a team of data scientists and equity analysts, and we'll try to come up with some insights and some people on the team will come up with some of the more logic stuff, and then I'll do a lot of the actual transformations on the data and a lot of the parsing and keeping the process flowing along. And yeah, it's a really, really interesting job to me because to me, the data that's flowing across the screen that I'm doing stuff on isn't really that relevant to my exact job, but the processes and the engineering processes of designing a system that can handle this much data and this much processing is something that's really, really interesting to me because you can always make it more efficient, and you can always make it use less space and use less memory and get it out faster to people. So we're only getting more and more data. More devices are coming into everyone. Soon our cars will be connected. I know people's fridges are already connected. I don't know what data is going to come out of that, but we just need to keep processing and keep hoping to make things more efficient because there's a lot of waste in this world right now. And just in everything, in every process you could think of could be improved in some way, shape, or form. Being able to work in communities like Salisbury there's a lot larger sense of community in Salisbury where you interact with your neighbors a lot more, and you're very connected to the schools and the local government, politics, and all the organizations that make a place like this move. And in New York City, even if there's 200-300 times the amount of people around you, you have that many more neighbors. It's easy to never talk to one of them and never see one of them just because of the pace of everything's moving and how many people there are. It feels like one person can be insignificant. And so I would like to see more people genuinely being more involved in their local community. And moving to a place like Salisbury is a great place where you can make that happen.
Great, appreciate that. Ron, I really appreciate you coming in and talking with us today.
Thank you.
So thanks you for everybody watching today on Hometown Heroes. I'm your host, Andy Kitzrow. This is on Pack 14. We'll see you next time.
You too can be a hometown hero on Pack 14.
If you'd like to nominate someone to appear on Hometown Heroes, please contact George Whitehead at giwhitehead@salisbury.edu or call 410-749-1480.